Ever walked past an abandoned building and felt an inexplicable chill run down your spine? Derelict structures are scattered across cities and towns, often overlooked, their crumbling facades blending into the background. But behind many of these ruins lie haunting tales, stories of tragedy, mystery, and misfortune that have sealed their fate in eerie silence. While some were simply left to decay due to financial woes or shifting urban landscapes, others carry a darker past, one that ensures no one will dare to claim them again. Here are 10 such buildings whose unsettling histories will make you think twice before stepping inside. If you love eerie mysteries and spine-chilling stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because some tales are too haunting to be left untold. Number 10. Sanzhi UFO Houses. Imagine stumbling upon a deserted landscape of pod-shaped buildings straight out of a retro sci-fi nightmare. Welcome to the Sanzhi UFO Houses, a failed futuristic resort in New Taipei, Taiwan, that proved modernism is no match for the chilling grip of the unknown. Construction began in 1978 with the dream of creating a luxury retreat for U.S. military officers stationed in the area. But that dream quickly crumbled when a series of mysterious deaths plagued the project. Workers died in freak car accidents. Others reportedly took their own lives. And within just 2 years, the project was abandoned, left to rot like an eerie alien graveyard. Was it simply bad luck? Or was the site cursed? Some blame the project's downfall on the destruction of a sacred Chinese dragon statue at the entrance, while others whisper that the land itself was haunted, forever marked by the restless spirits of Dutch soldiers who perished there long ago. By the late 2000s, the Sanzhi UFO houses were demolished, erasing their bizarre existence from the landscape. But those who believe in curses might wonder, did destroying the structures truly break the curse, or just set it loose? Number 9. Chateau Miranda. Rising like something out of a dark fairy tale, this neo-Gothic masterpiece in Celles, Belgium, once known as Chateau de Noisy, was built between 1886 and 1907 as a lavish summer retreat for the wealthy Liederkirke de Beaufort family. But its story took a sinister turn during World War II, when the Nazis seized it as a base, filling its grand halls with soldiers and shadowy war secrets. Then came the Battle of the Bulge, bringing bloodshed to its already haunted halls. If the image of fallen soldiers' spirits wandering its Gothic corridors isn't chilling enough, what followed might be. After the war, the chateau was repurposed as a sanatorium for sick children. While it was officially called a holiday camp, it's hard to imagine this eerie, isolated castle as a place of joy. Tragically, not all the children who arrived left alive, further weaving death into the chateau's history. By the time Chateau Miranda was finally demolished in 2017, its ghosts had nowhere left to hide. So who knows where they've gone now? Number 8. The Murder House. In the heart of Dundee's wealthy Rose Angle district stands a house with a past so dark it has become the stuff of local legend. Despite its grand 3-story facade, this infamous murder house sat abandoned for decades, its silence whispering of the horrors that unfolded within. In May 1980, Alexander and Dorothy Wood, a quiet, elderly couple in their late 70s, were brutally attacked in their own home. Their killer, Henry John Gallagher, didn't just take their lives. He unleashed a frenzy of violence so extreme that even seasoned investigators were left shaken. Detective Chief Superintendent Jim Cameron, leading the case, called the scene not normal, a chilling understatement for what was described as an abattoir of bloodshed. Gallagher went on to commit 2 more gruesome murders in Kent before he was finally caught. Declared insane, he was sent to Broadmoor Hospital instead of prison, leaving behind a house stained with its own nightmarish history. For years, the house remained a haunting presence in the city, a chilling stop on Dundee's dark tour, where visitors could stand outside and imagine the terror that once filled its walls. But in 2018, plans were set in motion to transform the murder house into a bar and restaurant, because nothing says fine dining like a place once soaked in horror. Would you dare to eat there? Number 7. Willard Asylum. An abandoned asylum is always likely to have a fairly strange and frightening atmosphere, but the Willard Asylum for the chronic insane takes it to a whole other level. Situated in Willard, New York, it was originally built in the 1860s to be a place of safety for the mentally ill at a time when treatments, such as imprisoning them in cells or leaving them chained up in poorhouses, were common. The idea came from Dr. Sylvester D. Willard, and the asylum was organized in a way that was typical for the period, with men and women kept apart, but with a cinema, gym, and bowling alley among the facilities. There was clearly an effort being made to make its residents happy. Despite the attempts to make Willard Asylum a more progressive place for treating the mentally ill, the presence of a graveyard full of thousands of unnamed markers for those who died there is a grim reminder that it was still essentially a prison. However, what really gave Willard Asylum its unsettling reputation are the suitcases that were discovered in an attic after the facility was shut down in 1995. Numbering more than 400, these suitcases contained personal items that had been brought to the asylum by new inmates. They provide a melancholy glimpse into the lives of its residents, many of whom never left, and are among those buried anonymously in its cemetery. Among the possessions found in these suitcases were everything from children's toys and books to family photos. Number 6. Fort Douaumont. This fort is situated not far from Verdun, France, and it was designed to prevent the Germans from invading that region in the aftermath of the Franco-Prussian War. It did not actually come into play until World War I, but by this time, the French had abandoned the use of fixed fortifications as a military defense, and the small garrison left at the fort were easily overpowered by the Germans when the latter staged a surprise strike at the start of the Battle of Verdun. The French army eventually regained control of it in October 1916, with the public in France demanding that all energy be put into reclaiming a building they saw as a symbol of their nation as a whole. The battle to win it back was bloody and involved intensive shell attacks, which hit the supplies of ammunition and grenades that were kept in the center of the fort. Some 800 Germans were killed by the mix of toxic smoke and explosions. With the fort under assault, the dead could not be buried outside and had to be put into one of the fort galleries and sealed in. Some of the skeletal remains are now buried in the fort cemetery and ossuary, but others remain forever walled in within the building itself. Number 5. St. Gerard's Hospital. Few things are as unsettling as an abandoned hospital, and St. Gerard's in Birmingham, UK, was a prime example of that eerie, time-frozen decay. Built in the 1890s by the Father Hudson Society, it was meant to care for impoverished children suffering from tuberculosis and other illnesses. For nearly a century, it echoed with the sounds of young patients and overworked nurses until it shut its doors for good in 1988. But what made St. Gerard's truly terrifying wasn't just its empty halls or crumbling walls. It was the ghosts of its past, still physically present in the decaying ruins. Beds remained unmade, as if their patients had simply vanished. Wheelchairs sat abandoned, their rusted frames frozen in time. Blood-stained syringes, X-rays, and medical charts of children lay scattered, untouched for decades. And perhaps the most heartbreaking of all, toys and coloring books left behind by the young patients who once sought comfort within these walls. For 30 years, the hospital stood as a chilling time capsule, a haunting reminder of the lives it once held. Finally, after decades, it was demolished. But the memory of St. Gerard's lingers, a place where the past refused to be forgotten. Number 4. Church of the Nine Ghosts. The actual name of this 14th century church is St. George's Church, and it is in Likova in the Czech Republic, where it was consecrated in 1352. From the very beginning, it developed an association with darkness, as it was ravaged by fires on more occasions than anyone would expect of a church. However, despite this spate of strange events, the church was continually rebuilt and repaired until one final disaster in 1968 proved the last straw for residents of the village. During a funeral service that year, the roof of the church caved in, which led many local people to believe that it was haunted, so the church was finally abandoned. That's creepy enough, but it wasn't the end of the story. After it stopped being used as a church, the inside of the building started to fall into disrepair, and Jacob Hadrava, an artist from the local area, decided to save it from being knocked down by turning it into an art installation. He created 9 shrouded figures made of plaster that sit in the pews, hence the nickname Church of the Nine Ghosts. Hadrava called his finished work My Mind, and it has become a popular tourist attraction among the sort of people who listen to Joy Division on their summer holidays. More ghostly figures have since been added to the original 9. Number 3. Hulme Hippodrome. This abandoned theatre is located in Manchester, England, and opened its doors in 1901, staging music hall performances for years before being given the new name of the Second Manchester Repertory Theatre in the 1940s. It later went on to play host to legendary artists like Nina Simone, but after a period when it was used as a venue for bingo during the 1970s, it was closed down and went on to become a source of fascination for many people living in Manchester. While any derelict theatre has an element of eeriness about it because it was once full of life, laughter, and people, the connection Hulme Hippodrome has with the strange Gilbert Dea Ministries is what really makes it creepy. This organization bought the building and used it to hold church meetings, at which Dea allegedly told infertile couples that he could provide them with what he called miracle babies. Dea and his church were investigated by the BBC in 2004 over suspicions that these babies were being kidnapped from families in Nairobi, Kenya. The investigation found that the babies that he claimed had been born to couples in the UK did not have the same DNA as the people who were supposed to be their parents. And Dea was eventually sent back to Kenya to face charges of child trafficking in 2017. Number 2. Hirta. This entry is actually several buildings that make up a settlement on the Scottish island of Hirta. Hirta is part of the St Kilda archipelago and is one of the most remote places in the whole of the UK, as well as being empty since the residents left in 1930. At one time, Hirta was the place on St Kilda where the majority of people lived, with the residents of the island growing potatoes and barley, catching fish, and eating eggs and meat from seabirds. Life in this detached location was surely never easy, but the story behind the final abandonment of it is very bleak. The settlement had survived a number of tough experiences, including an epidemic of smallpox in 1727. But the winter of 1929 proved to be so brutal that it led to multiple deaths, decimating the community and leaving only 36 remaining. Grief and desperation led those who had survived the harsh winter weather to plead with the government for a move away from the island to the mainland. Although the island was evacuated almost 90 years ago, buildings such as houses and the school hall are still there and are now sometimes visited by tourists. Number 1. Red Dress Manor. Deep in the Welsh countryside, hidden among the rolling hills of Powys, stands an abandoned farmhouse frozen in time. Officially named Calcott Hall, this eerie relic was built in 1725, but its true claim to fame lies not in its age, but in its unsettling sense of presence. The last known resident, Ellen Jones, passed away in the 1970s, yet stepping inside feels as if she never truly left. Food still sits in the fridge, long expired but untouched. Personal paperwork remains scattered across the house, as if waiting for her return. Photographs of her life still hang on the walls, capturing fleeting moments of a past that refuses to be erased. But the most haunting detail? A vibrant red dress, draped over a door, undisturbed for over 40 years. Locals have dubbed the home the Red Dress Manor, a name inspired not just by the garment itself, but by the framed photograph of Ellen Jones wearing it, eerily watching over the decaying house. No one knows much about Ellen's life or how she died, but one thing is certain. Walking through Red Dress Manor feels like stepping into a ghost story, where the past clings to the present, refusing to fade away. These crumbling structures are more than just abandoned buildings. They are time capsules of terror, forever marked by tragedy, mystery, and death. From dreadful hospitals frozen in time to mansions steeped in bloodshed, each one holds a chilling past that refuses to be forgotten. Whether cursed, haunted, or simply left to decay, these places serve as a stark reminder that some walls remember everything, even the horrors we wish they would forget. Would you dare step inside?